All righty, welcome to Unsafe Spaces. This is episode 20. Thank you for finding us here at unsafespacesUSA.com or at Twitter, at Facebook, on YouTube, wherever it is you found us. Just a quick note, if you have suggestions on links or stories you come across during the week, send them to producer at unsafespacesUSA.com. So let's get this started, and let's start this thing off with the week that was. So soothing, that week that was. Needing to be soothing after the kind of news that came across this past weekend, starting with the whole thing in Las Vegas. It was abysmal. It was terrible the way you had to sit there and watch time after time after time. And more importantly, a total lack of closure or information. And I mentioned last week a couple of times, always question authority. Well, you know what? Also, always question news. I'm not going to say fake news, but news is news. It's just something that's out there that you read and for you to start your information with, not something that should dictate all your knowledge. So what was this all about? No one knows. The police chief you've seen all this time, he doesn't know. The people investigating it, evidently, they don't know. Millions on the internet, they've all got theories, but they don't know. Something this horrendous rarely happens for no particular reason. You know, nut jobs like this, they've got a reason behind what happened. And this one happened at a country music festival. Pretty amazing stuff. Number two on the week that was, and kind of the way things that happened the way they do. Steve Scalise, the representative, made a miraculous comeback. Great time, showed up, walked in on crutches at Congress, made his speech, talked about just about everything you expected him to talk about. But I really think he caught a lot of people off guard when he was asked in interviews if his thoughts on the Second Amendment had changed because of what he'd just gone through.
Have your experience of your own and what you saw in Las Vegas, has it changed how you feel about any of that?
I think it's fortified it because, first of all, you've got to recognize that, you know, when there's a tragedy like this, the first thing we should be thinking about is praying for the people who were injured and doing whatever we can to help them, to help law enforcement. We shouldn't first be thinking of promoting our political agenda. And I think we see too much of that where people say, oh, okay, now you have to have gun control. Well, first of all, look at some of those bills. Those bills wouldn't have done anything to stop this. I mean, the gunmen actually cleared background checks. Yeah. So to promote some kind of gun control, I think, is the wrong way to approach this. And frankly, what I experienced was when there was a shooter, luckily we had Capitol Police there with their own guns. Every single day in America, regular citizens that just have a passionate belief in the Second Amendment, that have their own guns, use guns every single day to protect themselves against criminals. And those stories never get told or hardly ever get told. But that's a different side of the story that I think is important, that people use guns way more to defend themselves from criminals than criminals using guns to hurt people.
Well said. Steve Scalise, fantastic. No one could say it probably better, and for what he's been through, it's pretty incredible that he's this well and doing this well as soon as he is. Next up on the week that was, it was a bad week for one of Hollywood's movie moguls, Harvey Weinstein. He's being accused by several women of sexual harassment over decades. Now, you'd expect, it came out during the week, hey, SNL had all kinds of... No, they didn't. They got around to Trump, but of course one of their own, Harvey, doesn't really get treated. They said he's from here, so we couldn't really criticize him at this point. I guess Trump's not from New York, I guess, but that doesn't stop them. Weinstein has had this pattern for years and years, is just now finally starting to catch the blowback. He was fired yesterday in a late move by his own company. And that's something people take as this big revelation. They want this story to go away. Don't fool yourself. Hollywood wants this story to go away, because if it doesn't go away, people are going to start talking about the pedophilia. They're going to start talking about the young boys and young girls that are taken advantage of on the casting couches. Remember that term, casting couch? That was always, some woman was taken advantage of. No, it isn't just women. And that's why Hollywood wants this story to go away so fast, is to kind of hide their own little dirty laundry. And they'll do everything they can to make it go away as fast as they can. Our last story of the week that isn't going away anytime really soon, it would seem, is the whole kneeling for the anthem thing. And Vice President Mike Pence was at the Colts game. He's from Indiana. They honored Peyton Manning at pregame, had a statue, Ring of Honor, all that stuff. But after the national anthem, where 23 of the 49er players knelt before the game, very well coordinated effort by them, I must say, he issued this tweet about him leaving because he thinks it disrespects the flag, the soldiers, and the national anthem, which is 100% of how I feel. And you can't have it both ways. You can't choose that venue as a protest and then say it's not about that venue. That's why you chose it, Sparky. Okay? You got that one? But people don't understand that. People don't want to sort of pay attention to that. The guy that kind of got this all going last year was Colin Kaepernick. And Kaepernick kneeled, and now he's out of work. And there was a story late yesterday by Jason LaConfort at CBS that Kaepernick would be willing to stand if he could find a job in the NFL. Well, problem with that story, as much coverage as it got initially, it wasn't true. And it took his girlfriend, which as usual, Colin doesn't speak for himself real often, but his girlfriend was quick to point out that he's never said that and he would never do that. And then trailing along last night, you had more directly from Colin that said he never said that. So status quo on the Colin Kaepernick front. Let's go now to college football and NFL and some of the scores over the weekend and some of the games that really stood out. There were a few doozies in this one. Let's check out first our little bumper. All right, yeah. The foosball is very popular. Our first game, Michigan State. That's big brother, little brother. Well, little brother did pretty well. Michigan State won that game 14-10. Was a heck of an upset. And Michigan got a loss hung on them. And Michigan State again comes through and ruins Jim Harbaugh's day. A little karma involved there, but we won't go too deeply into that. But Michigan State beats Michigan. Next up on that, the college side is a huge upset. Iowa State beat Oklahoma 38-31. I had Iowa State in the game a few weeks back. In fact, I picked them to upset a few teams since then. I thought they showed a lot of potential. Well, they finally lived up to their potential, and they did it without their quarterback, Jacob Parks. He was out for the foreseeable future. He's got a health issue. And they come in, the backup quarterback comes in. The starting middle linebacker, who was a quarterback, Lanning, he plays quarterback and middle linebacker in the same game. And they win the game 38-31. Fantastic. Good for Matt Campbell. A lot of good things ahead for Iowa State under that head coach. Next game, Navy and Air Force. Over 800 yards rushing in this game. But ironically, Navy wins it late, 48-45, with a pass from Zach Abey to his Carmona, the wide receiver, for Navy. So 48-45 between Navy and Air Force, two really good teams. And Navy still and remains unbeaten now, and into this week, they're going to be ranked in the top 25. Good for Ken Niumatalolo and company. You got a chance to do that, and great effort. And we'll have a little bit more about Navy later in this podcast. And the last one was a big game out of the Big 12, and another team stayed undefeated. TCU beating West Virginia 31-24. through much of this game, West Virginia led the game. TCU came back, and I tell you, Coach Peterson's having the kind of year that, maybe turns out special. Just keep an eye on them. They've got a lot of big games coming up here in the Big 12. But good defense. This year, a little bit better offense than normal for TCU, and that offense really stood up in the fourth quarter. TCU wins 31-24. All right, let's go to the not for long in some of their games. The game that Mike Pence was at featured the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers stay defeated. They're stayed over in overtime. They lose 26-23. So my old team goes down. They're looking better. They're just not winning any. I guess that's progress. I think it's progress. But the Colts win. And to the folks there honoring Peyton Manning, that's the important thing. Game number 2 in the NFL. It was an amazing game. If you saw it later yesterday afternoon, you had to love it. Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is doing stuff the guy before him at Green Bay did all the time, Brett Favre. And that's just rip people's hearts out and then hold them up and go, look, see what I got here? Just an epic version or epic way to do it. They did it on the road in Dallas against the Cowboys, 35-31. And it was a lot of fun. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, Green Bay's receiver Adams was smacked across the middle, and targeting, or a personal foul was called, targeting and all that. And he looked like he'd be hurt for a while. It was Devontae Adams that came back and caught that touchdown pass to win the game against Dallas yesterday. So good on you. Later on, or earlier in the day, the Chargers were taking on the Giants. And, the Chargers won a game. Everyone's happy, except for New York, who, like San Francisco, still hasn't won a game this year. But the Chargers won 27-22, and Phillip Rivers just found a way to get it done. And good for Phillip Rivers. And better yet, they probably played in front of more Charger fans because they were on the road and not in their terrible new place of location in Orange County or somewhere south of Los Angeles. Giants, they had a rough day. And there's going to be a lot of rough days for teams that just don't have that much talent, especially up front on offense, because they are pathetic. Next up is a game last night that featured the Kansas City Chiefs, still undefeated, beating the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson showed you a lot of a lot of what you're going to have to look forward to is a really good quarterback in Houston. He's going to have some growing pains. He's going to make some mistakes. But Alex Smith and the Kansas City Chiefs are off to a very special start. I won't get too far out of over my skis, as shouldn't every Chiefs fan, because you've seen this before. They've blazed out and then petered out at the end and disappointed you. So enjoy them being undefeated, but you better be looking for them to keep getting better at different things. There were some injuries yesterday, as a matter of fact. One was J.J. Watt in that Giants-Texans game, and that looked pretty bad. And the other injury was to Odell Beckham, the wide receiver for the New York Giants. He fractured his fibula / broke his ankle. It folded underneath him. It was not a very good injury, and there he is being taken off the field. I do have a tip for him, though. I hear that, how do I put this? If you pee on it, I've heard, sometimes it heals faster. Yeah, good luck with that. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? Next up is our monologue for the week. And this is a very brief monologue. It's not even a history lesson. It's just a reality. You hear so much about the Second Amendment. I want to show you what the Second Amendment says. For those of you that think the Second Amendment is a 2-3 page thing. This is the Second Amendment, with the red highlighted words being the most important part. They shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So an adaptation for bump stocks, an adaptation for certain kinds of ammo, an adaptation for, it's unconstitutional. So unless you're talking about changing the Constitution, you're just blowing hot air. Period. End of report. Got it? Thank you. All right, let's go back on to Butthurt of the Week, huh? Let's bring out the Matador. Cue the Matador. Well, actually, I should be calling this Florida Butthurt of the Week, because this week is all about Florida. Because, you know, the natural disasters have taken a respite, and Florida has gotten back to the place in our heart. They tend to occupy a lot, and that's in the what the hell is that stories. And I've got 4 doozies for you here from the state of Florida. Let's start first with a little mother-child story out of the state of Florida. 2 moms who overdosed on heroin with their newborns in baby seats in the back seat. Yeah, let that marinate a little bit for you. Mothers, heroin, babies, car, back seat, overdose. Not only in Florida, but in Florida, as a story, you kind of look at it and say, you know, I can see that happening. And you see that toe tag thing? That's what's waiting for those people if they don't get the hell off those drugs. And that's nobody's fault but themselves. Nobody's. Wow. Whew. Next up on our Butthurt of the Week from Florida is this unbelievable story of a gentleman who was in a wheelchair at a Chick-fil-A, a Christian-owned store/restaurant, fast food store, that's not open on Sundays. But this guy was in this particular Chick-fil-A. Well, look, check this out. This is what happened. Daycare worker in wheelchair, caught in the Chick-fil-A, molesting a child. Seriously. Well, you look at that picture there, didn't need that wheelchair a whole lot, huh? And that's, what's he wearing? Like a NASA flight suit? No, it was just, again, only in Florida. I'm sorry. I live in Georgia. They're not that far from Florida. Still don't see that real often. Next up, Florida gets back in the news. You know, if you run out sometimes and you have your car keys in your pocket, but you didn't bring your wallet, and you try to buy coffee in the morning, what can you bring that maybe can get you what you want? Well, this gentleman solved that problem. Man in Tampa was trying to pay for his morning coffee with some muscle relaxers. Yeah, you read that right. Here it is, part of the old incident report / arrest report. Trying to use what was described as methocarbamol to buy his morning coffee. Yeah. I guess it happens all over the country. I'm sort of out of touch, but how do you do that? I just don't. I don't know, but that definitely qualifies in the butthurt of the week category for me. Now this next one, I'm going to warn you. This ain't normal. This is so far from normal, it might be coming around the other way and be closer to quasi-normal than it is to weird over here on the far end. But this is a story of a young man out of Florida that unfortunately passed away. And it's not the fact that he died. that makes this kind of a amusing story. It's how he died. Or here he and his 23-foot long anaconda. He was, I guess you could say, having relations.
The 22-year-old man from Florida has been found dead after he allegedly succumbed from indulging in sexual activities with his 23-foot long anaconda. It took several hours for the authorities to separate a large serpent from the young man, who was a victim but also in full erection and deeply penetrated into the female anaconda's genitalia.
I got nothing for you. I got nothing for you. That'll do it for Butt Hurt of the Week. Whew. How about we move on to real world news? You know, a lot of weird stories come out of D.C. about the CIA and State Department, and a lot of weird stories come out of Hollywood. You know, because Hollywood actors, they want to be actors. They want to be sports guys. They want to be secret agents. They want to be all sorts of different things because they're good at pretending. Well, it seems like sometimes when you're really good at pretending, you fool the real people that work in this kind of clandestine world. And you could say that about George Clooney. Check out this headline. Yeah, let that marinate a little bit for you. George Clooney, and this picture of Clooney and the next one following, there was a movie he was in called Three Kings, The Three Kings. I think Wahlberg was in it, and he and LL Cool J. And it was all about finding treasure. They were in the Middle East, the Libya area. But anyway, supposedly George Clooney was asked to spy. And for those of you who don't know, George Clooney is very involved and has some international foundations that are very involved in certain countries and for causes over there. So I guess they figured that would be a nice cover for him to spy. Hey, when your budgets get cut, you got to find ways to make do with what you don't have. Next up in the real world news is Dove soap. We all know about Dove soap. Yeah, that's Dove soap. They've had to apologize for what's been now called a racist soap ad. And I won't show you the video because it's even sillier than the ad itself. And not that one, this one. The young woman on the left, the black woman on the left, raises her shirt up. And when she gets the shirt up over her head, suddenly she's white. And then there's another young lady. And then there's another young lady. Then there's another young lady. The hell are you people thinking? This story should be in Butt Hurt of the Week. As many people that get butt hurt over stuff like this. Racist? Have we gotten to the point where that term, which used to be pretty toxic, but I guess now we throw it around so much, it's not very toxic. How about thoughtless? How about stupid? How about ignorant? Racist? Whatever floats your boat out there. I'll tell you that right now. Hey, next story out of the real world news is, our boy Little Rocket Man kind of got back into the news because, President Trump made his comment about, well, you just wait and see. Well, North Korea says they're ready to test new high-range missiles capable of hitting the U.S. West Coast. See? Go, gadget missile! Here he comes, here comes space. Are those, I'm just not quite sure. Little Rocket Man, are those supposed to be threatening? Because they're neither really good animation or really bad CGI, or I guess those are threats. But this won't end well if this little nut job over in North Korea decides to test long-range missiles capable of reaching the U.S. That will get a very adverse reaction. Guaranteed. Next up in the real world news of this last week, California. I lived in California for most of my life. Born in New York, raised in LA. Welcome to California. You can get a tan. You can get great food. You've got a state that's got a little bit of a problem with illegals as far as how much of the budget gets eaten up by them. And now they've got a problem to add to it. Now they've got a door gift if you go out there. There's a chance you could come home with hepatitis because there's an outbreak that supposedly is one of the worst in the country in decades going on there in California. To all my family and friends out there, I hope you avoid this, and it's a non-issue. And everybody else, good luck. Just keep your head down. And now that you're a sanctuary state, maybe that means you can seek sanctuary from this kind of stuff that happens. I know that's not how it works, but hey, what can you do? All right, let's go to my probably one of my favorite parts of this show. I just love my tinfoil hat stories. Yeah, good picture. I like that. The first one is, you got to look at this. Now, if you're like me, we come across these stories all the time. And you think of the lady in the tinfoil hat, you think of aliens abducted me. I was outside. I was out in my backyard at night, and an alien beamed me up and probed me in places that just aren't right. Those kind of stories, right? That's tinfoil hat stories. Check out this video and tell me this doesn't make you go, because I'm not talking that UFO. I'm talking this UFO. Watch this video. This is obviously in slow motion, but that's a real jet. That's a military aircraft right there. Just explain away as to what that is next to it. Frisbee? Fast dirigible? But that was recently taken in Spain. So I don't know. We're not alone, I guess. And if that's not news to you, good. You've paid attention. If that's news to you, welcome to getting out from underneath that rock. Want to start this next story with a disclaimer. If there are children nearby, or even adults that still at this point believe in good old Saint Nick, good old Santa Claus, check out this story. Talk about spoiler alert of the week. They found the tomb of Saint Nicholas? What? That doesn't look like Alaska. That doesn't look like the North Pole. That doesn't even look like the South Pole. Oh, it's in Turkey. Check out the video.
Warning. This story contains details that may give nightmares to those who believe in Santa Claus. Archaeologists hoping to prove the existence of the legendary Nicholas have found a grave in the most likely place under the St. Nicholas Church in Turkey's Antalya province. Did they also find that pony you've been asking Santa for? According to Daily Sabah, archaeologists were conducting digital scans of the church's foundation when they found indications of an underground shrine beneath a mosaic-covered floor. The shrine appears to be intact and of the type that would house the relics of the church's namesake.
So, St. Nick, they finally found him. I thought he was immortal. I thought he stayed up there with Mrs. Claus and made toys all year round. Another dream dashed. All right, let's move on to our feel-good stories of the week. And I say stories because we do have feel-good stories. Look at my man. Just eating some watermelon on the couch, chilling. Yeah. Hey, our first feel-good story of the week is something we mentioned earlier. I made mention that Navy beat Air Force 48-45 at home for a big win. Both teams ran for over 800 yards, but the game was determined by a touchdown pass at the very end. But something else happened at that game. Before the game, Jaron Jasper, the son of Ivan Jasper, the offensive coordinator, he was able to make it to the game. He was finally released from the hospital, And he was able to make it. In fact, Scott Strassmeyer, the sports information director, associate athletic director, released this tweet right here, and that's Ivan Jesper giving his son a kiss before the game. And trust me, this Navy team takes this very, very seriously as motivation, and I'm sure they got a lot of motivation out of this kid being able to be there. Good for the Jasper family, good for the Navy family. Check out the video again.
Hey Jaron, it's DJ Palmore from the Brotherhood. Not only me, but all of my brothers are standing behind you and your family, and we're sending you prayers, hoping that you get a speedy recovery.
Hey Jaron, it's Zach Abey. Just want to wish you well, man. We know you're fighting hard. The Brotherhood, all behind you. We're all extended family, and just want you to know that we got your back, and we're looking forward to a speedy recovery.
Hey Jaron, it's Daryl Bonner. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Stay strong. Hey, just keep going, man. Keep going. We're praying for you. We love you. Hey man, and once you get out of this, it's gonna make you stronger. It's gonna bring your family together, and we just know that God has a plan for you. Thanks, man.
Hey Jaron, what's up, man? I hope you're doing good. I miss you, man. I want a rematch again in the bowl game this year, so I'm gonna need you to get back as quick as you can, man. Stay tough, brother. Love you.
Hey Jaron, you got over 200 guys praying for you, and the Brotherhood standing behind you.
Hey man, we love you. We praying for you. Keep pushing and stay strong.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that makes you smile. It really does. And good luck to Ivan Jasper and the whole Strong family. That's a hell of a brotherhood there at Navy. Want to also give you a movie heads up, and that's this movie right here, Mully. And if you like stories that are feel-good type stories, also very good movies, but of the kind of people that go out of their way to do something for people, and they have no personal sort of skin in the game, if you will. They aren't related to them, but this story of Mully is something that will definitely make you smile. Check out this trailer.
We had 3 children, 4 children, and the number kept on growing.
And he said, welcome, this is your family now. These are all your brothers and sisters.
We are one family. We are one Kenya. When I remember that, I see the impossible becoming possible.
Incredible stuff, huh? Do yourself a favor, find out about Mully. Find out where you can see it. And once you do see it, find out how you can get as many people as possible to check out this movie. It's just an unbelievable movie experience in a business that doesn't always make a difference. This story and these kind of movies definitely make a difference. Hey, thanks for watching. Want to remind you that when it comes down to where to find us, you can always go to YouTube, you can go to Twitter, you can go to SoundCloud, you can go to unsafespacesusa.com. Any of these places, you can find us. And when you do find us, share us. Tell your friends. Try to get this in front of as many people as possible. Some of these stories, I believe, really, really deserve that. All right? That means have a great week. We'll see you next week. And happy trails.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing bring the sunny weather.